entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. Getting the Edge is a great opportunity to talk to business owners and within the community. We want to share and we want to highlight and promote their businesses and their products and their services, but we also want a chance to get to know them personally, and that's what Getting the Edge is all about. Getting the Edge is a product of Edge Business Magazine. Really excited for Edge now to be in our 2013, so wow, almost 6 years this September. We actually launched the magazine piece of it in 2015, but wow, time goes so fast. It does. Wow. So anyway, hopefully you know all about Edge Business Magazine, but if you do not, please check out edgebusinessmagazine.com. Make sure you subscribe to the latest issue of Edge. Our latest issue features Louis Crespo, Dr. Crespo from Crespo and Associates. The magazine is a great opportunity and a great collaborative effort of business leaders, from leadership to tech to inspiration stories, really anything that you need from the university to high-level CEO. We offer a little something for everybody. So definitely check it out. You can subscribe today, again, at edgebusinessmagazine.com. So again, really excited to be here with us today. I'm joined by my friend Topher Morrison, who have been friends and neighbors. So we were neighbors.
Literally, yeah, like
couple doors down.
Couple doors down for a while.
That's funny. I remember us years ago. I think 2013, 14. I hadn't launched Edge that long, and we met for coffee. Yep. And then when we we both walked, I believe, and then we were like walking in the same direction.
It got creepy. Because you thought, is this guy trying to walk to my house or something? When's he going to go his way?
That's kind of funny. So seriously, as we were walking, and then I go that way, he goes that way. And all that time, you were kind of right there. So anyway, that kind of was the great start of a great friendship.
Indeed.
And really, so again, time goes so fast. I can't believe now.
No, we're getting old.
Yeah. Well, speak 50. For yourself,
I just
man.
turned 50.
No, I know. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That's.
I know, it's crazy.
I remember being in my late 20s and really, kind of just starting out as a family and my married days, and I remember one of our friends, he was turning 40. And I remember thinking, like I was telling my husband at the time, oh my God, we have a friend that's 40. Ew. Like, can you imagine? Yeah. And here I say that as I'm proudly mid-40s now, but it's, wow, time just goes so fast.
It's crazy.
That 50 doesn't really seem that old. Because it's right around the corner for me as well.
I don't feel it. I know I certainly don't act it.
No.
So sadly, I probably look it, but that's.
No, you look great. I don't think. I mean, again, I think we all look so young.
It's the makeup and the lighting.
Was that right? Yeah. Wow. Well, so that's a benefit then. Anyway, so Topher, congratulations on your success thus far. Topher is, if you don't know, and surely you've heard of Topher by now if you have not, is running for a mayor for Tampa Bay March 5th.
As fast as I can.
That's so, and again, going back to our friendship over the years, I remember you saying years ago, this was something that you wanted to, that you were, you had your eyes set on, mind, body, soul, set on being that, and here you are. In time, again, even going back to when everything started with the campaign, and here we are now. So today is the 5th, so it's 30 days, a month from today.
Yeah, well, since there's not even
we're
29,
today.
There's only 29 days in this month, so it's actually 28 days from the election right now.
Oh wow,
it's crazy, yeah. And I started this campaign in January 8th of last year, so I've been in it for 13 months now.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm still going strong. I tell you what, I've made it a lot further than anybody thought I would.
Absolutely.
They didn't have much faith in the underdog, but I just keep plugging away.
And I mean, we look forward to seeing the outcome and you persevering. But again, I can only imagine what this experience is like as well. I mean, just. And everybody that you're meeting and speaking. Okay, if we thought you did speaking engagements, before. Yeah. Wow. I mean, how many did you have yesterday? Yeah.
I don't know, 4 or 5. Probably. Yeah. It's nonstop. This is my third appointment already today. Yeah. We did a debate this morning. We have another one this evening as well. It's crazy.
And then, I mean, how many more until the end?
At this point in time, the schedule is so insane, I just have somebody who tells me where to go. So I don't even, it's nice because I don't have to look at where I'm going. I don't need to. I just need to know that I've got somebody who tells me where I'm going, where I got to be. So I don't know how many more we have, but we have a lot. Yeah.
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 Wow. You know, yeah. I saw a post or something that someone, and you're talking like, okay, how many today? Or anyway, yeah.
We had, I think in January, I think we had, I think I had 17.
Oh my goodness, was it
Debates
that
slash
many?
forums. Yeah.
We were.
Put it this way: we have enough of them that we could all answer the questions for everyone else without, you know, like if somebody's missing, we go, well, we can step in for this guy. We know what he's going to say. Yeah.
That's interesting. I bet you could, because yeah, I mean, I would actually think you guys, even though you're all competing for the same position, I would think you'd become friends after this, after spending so much time together.
There's a tremendous amount of camaraderie that goes, because there are only 6 other people in the world right now who know what I'm going through.
Right.
Because they're going through it with me. So just the very notion that, you know, and this I think speaks to entrepreneurship as well. I think this is why it's such a great thing when entrepreneurs collaborate together and work with one another, because, you know, entrepreneurship's hard. There's anybody who says differently is full of it. It's hard, right?
Yeah, no, everybody on this show would agree with you. It's hard.
Right, it's hard, right? And so
absolutely.
when you have other people, you know, that you can bond with and go, man, I'm struggling like you are. I know the same thing that you're going through. And it's good to know that you're never alone, no matter how alone you feel. So there is an interesting camaraderie. And just like anything, some people I like more than others, and we get along well, but definitely a respect amongst us all.
No, one of the main reasons for starting Edge almost 6 years ago was to have that camaraderie and to be surrounded by like-minded people.
Right here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it is about. So, yeah, that's amazing. So, and friendships are born out of everything and all kinds of situations. So, wow, I can only imagine, too, what you've learned from...
It's, I tell people all the time, I say running for office will harden your skin and soften your heart. It's fundamentally made me a better human being. There's no question about it. I've been exposed to parts of the city that in my own little bubble I never knew existed, and it's opened my eyes. It's given me exposure to people that I would have never met on all ends of the spectrum. And it's pretty cool. I mean, I highly recommend. My father and my mother raised me with the belief that the 2 most honorable titles you could ever have would be military vet or public servant. And so this is my opportunity to get one of those titles. And I really want to earn that right to be a public servant. Yeah. Wow.
Well, and then there's a couple questions I want to kind of get into that, but it kind of goes back to the beginning of kind of our relationship and friendship. And one of the, you had an opportunity where you brought in different business owners in the community, and I came and spoke. And that was one of the, it was a very impactful, is what I'm going to share, it was a very impactful time for me. I did not, you know, even in college, I tried to skip the public speaking stuff. You know, it was terrifying to me, and so many people.
You did great that day. I remember you were so nervous.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm
you would have
hopefully
never guessed that you'd be hosting your own show back then either, I bet.
No, not at all. And this was a lot easier. Well, not easier. Well, you know, initially we were a radio show.
Right.
So it was a lot different when you're sitting with headphones on and you know, actually though, never forget Joey Redner, with Cigar City Brewing was the first guest. And that, even then, I had a wastebasket next to me because I thought I was going to be sick. Poor Joey's like, just set it over there.
Yeah.
You know, and there were no cameras. It was just, but you know, knowing and watching the clock and everything else. And so when you add cameras to it.
I heard that first radio show.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Actually, and then Joey was like, it sounded like you just started. You did great.
You did great.
But you can only rehearse in front of the mirror so many times, right?
Yeah.
You know, in the bathroom before, like you.
And no matter how many times you rehearse, it never comes out the same way anyway. So
not at all.
So just go for it and just be comfortable.
But it was very impactful. That was a memorable kind of milestone for me, because I remember sitting there speaking with you, and I would see how you spoke, and you spoke so fluently, like or fluently, whatever that word might be.
I guess.
Getting the Edge, we make up our own words.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I remember looking at you thinking, I would love to speak like you and have that assertion. Is that right? I don't know. Again, we make up our own words.
Works for me.
But I remember you also saying to me, because I did express that that I was kind of nervous about it, and you said just be yourself, like because you can't emulate other people's style of things either. You just have to be yourself. And I'll never forget like you telling me that, and it was an impactful time. Like I still think about it. 5 years later or however long it was. So thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome.
But
my honor.
no, it was great. And so going back into the speaking part of it, I mean, you've just really, I mean, if you were a speaker years ago, you're a master now of all the forums
Well,
and everything.
you know, I don't know that I'm a master at it, but I've been doing it for 30 years.
Well,
so
and I say
better
master
be,
from
I
a
better be
genuine
okay.
perspective. It's
Yeah,
not,
thank
I mean, everything that you're saying is heartfelt,
I will
or
tell
you would
that
not be doing what you're doing.
Running for office has made me go back and look at my strategies and my skill sets as a speaker, and what works in business sometimes doesn't work in politics. And it's funny, I've never felt more out of my element, even though people say it is my element. But you'll learn a lot of new things that you can't say things the same way in politics. You can say them in business.
Right.
And so what's appropriate in business may not be appropriate in politics. So there's definitely been a learning curve for it. But I think it's given me the edge, if you will, to have 30 years experience in professional speaking, to be able to get up and think on my feet more quickly in the forums. Sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, again, congratulations on your success thus far.
Thank
congratulations on really being and running and being like, for the dedication. You know, years ago, I always thought that potentially I would run for an office, but I would tell you, it's cutthroat.
You've always been politically active. I think you'd be good at it. You're very well educated in politics, and you know what's going on. And in fact, that was one of the things that was actually quite inspiring about you when I first met you. Is like you're different than just the average networking event, in that you had networking events and cool programs for business owners, but there was always that political thing behind it in terms of keeping them aware of, what's coming up in legislation and what's that going to mean for small business. And I remember that. I thought that's a cool little edge that you had as well.
Well, I appreciate that. And, it's hard as business owners to really know everything that's going on, or know that we're supposed to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I want to stay neutral. We're always from a nonpartisan perspective.
Sure.
But I would like to make sure that business owners have the knowledge and have the tools that they need to make the decisions that are right for them, their businesses, and their families. I mean, down from employment tax or equipment tax. I mean, there's different things that could be voted on that we have no idea, and unless we know, we can't do anything about it.
Right.
So anyway, I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you. Well, wow, I still admire you for your perseverance and your dedication to run, because like I was trying to say, I don't know that I would these days, because it is such a cutthroat.
Yeah, they definitely like to bring up everything you've ever done in your past, and every misstep you've ever made, and every statement you've ever made. They like to bring that up, but I think that just comes with the territory right now.
When you're 50, or in our 40s or in 50 years old, my goodness, we've been through so many different phases of our lives and careers, and I mean,
we've evolved.
Well, that's the whole idea,
Yeah.
and the wisdom that we grow. And and on the show, we've talked about different opportunities of the business. One step leads us to something else. It leads us to something else. And anyway, I want to get more into that.
Cool.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back more with Topher Morrison on Getting the Edge.
Hi, I'm Jerry from Hot Locks Hair Salon. We are conveniently located at 13414 US Highway 19 in Hudson. I've been a local hairstylist in our community for the last 34 years, 7 of which I was an educator. Our passion is the artistry of hair, and Hot Locks is here to help you achieve your perfect image. You can call us at 727-514-9978.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us today. We are at the great Genghis Khan restaurant. Come and check it out if you're in the South Tampa area, 3114 West Bay to Bay. Absolutely. Yes, and I'm almost sad to say, as much as we've done the shows here over the last couple of months, I had not had the opportunity to eat here, and I finally did last week.
It's great,
and
isn't it?
Yeah, it was really good.
You can't have food in the show because the show would be so boring, because it would literally just be us. It's so good.
Yeah, and then women too. I'd worry about it being all in my teeth, and I mean, you just can't
Have the
eat.
food spittle fly
right.
across.
It probably would. Yeah. Right. Oh, but yeah, definitely come and check it out if you're in the South Tampa area. I'd love to support Ergen Tech, who is also the foundation owner for Feed and Need. Did I say that right? Foundation. The owner of the foundation Feed and Need, which is doing great things in our community. So to find out more information about that, go to feedandneed.com, I believe it is. Anyway, Topher Morrison, candidate for mayor, and just all around great business owner and really small business owner is kind of your experience.
That's the defining difference between myself and any of the other candidates.
Okay, and that's how you and I have met originally, other than being neighbors a few years ago as well. But so we talked. If you missed any part of the show, make sure you hit rewind and check out the beginning. But we talked a little bit about. Okay, so now you're running for mayor. You do not have a political background.
Right.
Why not start with the county commissioner or something that's more
local?
Right.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Why something more locally focused? How do you, without
mosquito
political
control?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
How do you go right into for the mayor?
Well, for me, it was about making sure that I'm in leadership and in business. I always say you got to put your aces in your places. Make sure you got the right people doing the right job at the right time. And I'm very well aware of where my strengths lie and where my weaknesses lie. And there's a big difference between what the mayor does and what a city councilman does, or what a county commissioner might do. And for me, the difference is the difference between leadership and management. This is leaders do the right thing. Right. Managers do things right. There's a subtle difference there, right? So leaders do the right thing. Management is about doing things right. When you get managers who are used to doing things right into a leadership role without the leadership experience or the leadership background or the leadership credentials or anything, they run the risk of doing the wrong thing but doing it the right way. I am not a manager. I'm a leader. That's my strong suit. In fact, Jody's off camera. She could probably testify that my strong suit is not in management. My strong suit is in leadership. So to me, being a city councilman or a county commissioner would actually be counterproductive for me because A, that's not what I do best. B, I don't want to be conditioned by the system. Right? People sit there and they go, you don't have any experience. And I say, no, I don't have any conditioning. And there's a difference, right?
Right.
I don't want to be that person who sits there and goes, this is how politics is, this is how government works. I want to be the guy that gets in there and goes, who says it has to look like this? Who says transit has to look like it's always looked? Who says that neighborhood empowerment always has to look like this? Why don't we shift it around and change it up and do things different? Let's look at what's working in other cities and duplicate that. But if we just got the same people doing the same thing all the time, they're just conditioned. It's not about experience, it's about conditioning.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's with any experience, with any, not even in political, right? In any career or anything that we've done, if we've been in something too long, we are conditioned to the same processes and systems. I didn't really understand the difference with leadership and management either. And so you're really in your own power of position within your own company. And then you realize that there is definitely a difference between those that manage and those that lead the organization. And you can be really good at one and not good at the other.
And you often
didn't believe that so.
Yeah.
If you would have said that to me a few years ago, I would not have understood that can be different. One's the same, one and the same, but it is definitely not. So.
And that lack of understanding, when the stakes are so high in the position of mayor, it's imperative that people really get that, and they go, we want somebody in here who has leadership ability, not management ability.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I do not get into political oriented, but when you look at, and again, I'm going to stay very neutral from but from a president perspective, and so many said, let's put Trump in, and Trump doesn't have the political experience, but Trump has the business experience, right? But and again, I'm being completely neutral because I don't have an opinion one way or another, but I do know that the country.
Well, you do. You're just staying neutral now, which is fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do know that the country, although we might be a positive on an economic standpoint, from a humanity standpoint, it's not so good. So then when you look at that from more of a local level, so advantages and disadvantages of bringing that non-political. So is there some advantages then to having that political background, or non-conditioning is the best route?
Well, I mean, if looking at in relationship to Trump, I suppose on one side, if you're a fan of Trump, you're impressed at the changes he's making. If you're not a fan of Trump, you're not in favor of the changes, but both sides have to realize and acknowledge that there certainly is some change being made there.
Right.
Right? For me, getting back to the position of mayor, I'm very clear on what I'm going to be running on and the platform that I'm at, and if people like my platform, then they know that I'll stay consistent with those elements. But I think there's one big difference between myself and Trump, and I'd like to see there's probably several differences as well. The one thing that I could critique him on is that he is still being the president for Republicans, not the president for Americans. And there's a difference here. When you campaign, I get it, you're campaigning for one group of people. And it's almost the politician's job to put as much distance between them and their opponents as possible to make it easy for the person to make a choice on who they want. But then there's a difference between campaigning and leading as a mayor or as a president, right? And he is the president of all people, not just Republicans. And so there's a big group of people right now that are feeling very disenfranchised because he's not listening to them. I want to be the mayor for Tampa, right? So you bet. I mean, I've got my views, I've got my position, but I will tell you right now, when you get into that role, you better realize that you're not just representing the people who voted for you, you're representing the people who didn't vote for you, and they deserve representation as well. And I think if I were to critique him on one thing, I would critique him on that for sure, that he should be a president of all people. There is a way to find common ground. You can find similarities before differences. You can do that, but if you choose not to, you just create more partisanship.
Absolutely, and that's where I think it's interesting and something that I like with you running neutral, right, from an independent standpoint.
Well, I mean, I'm the most progressive candidate in the race, so I don't know how people would. I'm not sure people would necessarily call me independent, although I have certainly independent views and thinking about that. But I'm very progressive.
But you're not affiliated with any party.
Well, I am. So it's a nonpartisan race. So we are legally forbidden to put a D or an R after our name.
I guess that's right.
Yep.
Okay.
I can't put it in print. I'm not going to talk about it on video. Anybody can go to the Supervisor of Elections zone, pull my record up, and they'll see if I'm registered as a Democrat or a Republican. Yeah. So we can be affiliated with one, but we cannot take any campaign contributions from either party. Can't get support.
That's kind of nice, though, right? From a mayoral perspective.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah.
Right.
And even though I may be registered with one, I tell people all the time I'm not loyal to either because I don't put party before people. I put people before parties, right? This is the problem I think we have in our election system right now. If you look at the level of where people focus their, for lack of a better word, loyalty, right? Is they start very small and they go very wide. So the first person that a politician is loyal to is the person who donated the most amount of money to them. Get it? So it's the special interest groups. Then maybe it goes to their partisan group. Then maybe it goes to the city. Then maybe it goes to the county and the state, right? And so we have this thing where the people who are left last would be Mother Earth, right? The planet gets last. I think good leaders realize that they have to think about things from a global perspective and then hone in on the narrow. Right? So, for example, if you look at narrow to wide thinking, you go, if it's a good deal for Tampa, that's okay. So what if it screws over St. Pete? That's not how I lead. How I lead is a deal that's good for Tampa but bad for St. Pete is a deal that's bad overall, right? We have to think more regionally, specifically at the mayoral level, than just in our city itself. Make sense?
Well, what impacts us impacts them.
Correct.
And really the region.
Yeah, and we've seen, by the way, what happens when you put your personal individual groups ahead of the whole. This is why we have transit systems the way they are right now that just aren't effective, because we get the individual MPOs that can't seem to get out of their head, and as a result, they're not cooperating together as a whole group. And I think if we fixed that and got them to all work together, we'd be able to have connection between Pasco County all the way to Pinellas County, going through Hillsborough County.
You know, that's been, as I've watched, and Edge, we did participate in one of the downtown partnership. We were a part of that, and great, wow, that theater that we were in.
Rialto Theater, great place.
Wow, yes, beautiful.
Yeah.
But so, and I've heard and listened, and I try to catch up where I can, and some of the others. Obviously, transportation is a big debate, and something that everyone seems to have an opinion on.
Yeah.
What, you know, for years we've heard about TBX and the pros and cons of TBX. What are your opinions with TBX, and what are you?
Sure.
What do you think?
Well, TBX is dead, but now it's reformed and renamed to TB Next.
Right.
Pretty much just put a couple of
Well, they
letters
had
in
already
there.
started
It's
to
pretty much the
implement
same.
some of.
Yeah. So, like anything in life, you know, there's some good and there's some bad, and there are some great things to acknowledge in TB Next, in that they do want to create some connections between Pasco County to Pinellas County, and it's going to go through Hillsborough, and we should commend that and say, yes, we definitely need some sort of transit system through there. But the part that I'm challenged with TB Next, the big one, is that they want to expand the freeways. And I am steadfast opposed to expanding freeways and making them fatter, wider, or bigger. It doesn't do anything. Freeways create blight. They create air pollution, traffic congestion. This notion that if you add more lanes, congestion will free up is a false notion that has never, ever been solved when people do that. When you create more lanes, all you do is you create more opportunity for more congestion.
Right.
And I never want to see Tampa to become like these other cities that have 16 or 24 lane freeways, and it's still just bumper to bumper. That's not the solution. Our solution is we have to find ways to get people from one place to another, not cars from one place to another. And so I'm fundamentally opposed to some of the aspects of TB Next that have everything to do with expanding our freeways, putting in toll lanes that allow the haves to be able to go faster and the have-nots to be able to go slower. I don't think that's fair. It's a public roadway, right? Let's make sure that it's open for the public.
You know, I remember some of the talk, and again, this has been a few years now, right? Since TBX was really kind of, and we were a big discussion in the community, because we had so many that were pro and against it. But I know a lot of the against, we're talking about the businesses that were going to be affected by some of that, the widening of the interstate, and that potentially the length of time that it was going to take for the construction could potentially put these businesses out. I mean, they'd be out of business.
Sure. Well, I mean, all you have to do is you just look at businesses that are around places that are already building additional freeways, and the evidence is there. It puts them out of business, right? So it absolutely would. It would impact them unfavorably. You know, when you put in massive freeways like that, you're usually uprooting the marginalized, low-income families and pushing them further out into the suburbs where they can't afford to get in. It overall, from an economic, from a socioeconomic, environmental place, there's very little positive and there's a lot of negative.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to talk more about that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back with Getting the Edge.
Hi, I'm Jerry from Hot Locks Hair Salon. We are conveniently located at 13414 US Highway 19 in Hudson. I've been a local hairstylist in our community for the last 34 years, 7 of which I was an educator. Our passion is the artistry of hair, and Hot Locks is here to help you achieve your perfect image. You can call us at 727-514-9978.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am your host, Kelly Wilson. Thrilled to be here with you on Getting the Edge, a great opportunity to highlight business owners and community leaders and not just share and talk about your products and businesses, but really get to know them. So I know you see some of those commercials during our breaks that we're taking, and we'd love to feature your business in one of those. So reach out, info@edgebusinessmagazine.com. We'd love to talk to you about how we could feature your business on those commercials during the break. And any other questions, if you're interested in being a guest, please reach out and let us know. info@edgebusinessmagazine.com.
And get ads in the magazine as well.
Absolutely,
I've got
yes.
one in here.
We
Right
are,
there.
yes, you do.
Full
Look
page.
really good. We are
ad.
actually working on our spring issue. Yeah, you look really good. Right there. We are working on our we're working on our spring issue right now. That's out mid-March. We still have some time the next couple weeks, and we still have some space available in the upcoming issue. So again, reach out for any questions. We'd be happy to send you some information over. And one thing that I'm really starting now to promote that we've done since the beginning that we have not really been real vocal on is the fact that each issue we donate 6 ads, $4,500 in value, to local nonprofits and to businesses that wouldn't otherwise be able to provide promotions for their businesses. And again, we've done this since we started in 2015. And I'm really now just learning that we should share that. So your ad in here will help another business in the community get promoted and get focused as well. So again, for a great cause, we'd love to have your involvement. So thank you for bringing that up. So before we went on break, again, we're talking today with Topher Morrison, and we talked wow, congratulations again, just on the fortitude and really running for office. You always said that was kind of a dream of yours, and you wanted to make an impact to Tampa, what you call home.
Yeah.
And good for you. I mean, I'm just, it takes a lot, and I can only imagine.
Well, you know what? It's interesting. People talk about the sacrifice that you make. And yes, I'm not discounting that at all. They talk about how hard it is running a campaign. Every time I hear a politician complaining about how hard it is to run a campaign, I just want to look at them and go, maybe you should try running a small business. Because let me tell you, there's nothing harder in the world than running a small business, right? I mean, that's why I always say small business owners make better mayors, right? Because we never take no for an answer. We've got tenacity, resilience. We think outside of the box. We can take a dime and stretch it into a dollar. These are all traits that we need to have our leaders.
Well, and it's kind of too one of the shows we were talking on about the difference between an actual business owner and entrepreneur, and how really that mindset of an entrepreneur is really not in every business owner, and is why a lot of the times business owners they can't cut it or take the uncertainty and some of the risks associated. You have to have that entrepreneurial mindset, and being an entrepreneur is a mindset. So I can see where that would very much be in your favor, having that entrepreneurial mindset and running for a political campaign. So again, just I commend you for that and your dedication, and I look forward to watching things happen over the next 30 days in your favor. Okay, so before we went to break, we talked again, transportation has been a big talk amongst the candidates. I had some friends associated with the TBX, and they were very much against it years ago. I always try to stay somewhat neutral, but it's kind of hard a lot of the time. But anyway, we talked about TB Next. Tell us, okay, so and then one of the concerns I had with that, which is why I was leaning towards being against it, was the business owners. That it could potentially be very harmful towards, as far as widening the interstates, because of the businesses that would be affected could potentially go out of business by the time that those renovations are done. How do you protect, if indeed something like that happens in the future, how do you protect them?
Well, first off, I don't have the ultimate say as the mayor, because this is definitely much more at a county and at a state level as well. But I definitely have some say of what happens in my city. And I've told people from day one of my campaign that I will oppose any program that expands our freeways and makes them wider. And if need be, I will be the first person to lay down in front of that bulldozer. So I may very well be going down in history as the first mayor of Tampa who gets arrested because I'm laying down in front of a bulldozer. But if that's what I need to do to show that I'm looking out for the best interests of our public and our small business owners that are around those, I'll do it. I don't care. We cannot have more freeway expansion. There are ways to move people easier and efficiently. We can still have regional transit to take people from Pasco in through Hillsborough all the way over to Pinellas and back. We can do that. We don't need more lanes. We need more creativity.
Yeah, when you talked about people, not cars, too, as well earlier. And I don't know if everyone knows this about you, but you haven't owned a car.
9 years ago.
9 years.
9 years. I gave up my car to it was a 30-day experiment to see if I could offset my carbon footprint. And 30 days went by so easy, and I had so much fun with it. I went another 60 and another 90, and I thought, well, if I can make it a year. And by the time the year rolled around, it was just so easy. It just kept going, and I'm on my 9th year now of not owning a car.
I can't. That is amazing to me. And but, I would think, and you do currently. You live downtown. Your office is downtown.
Sure, I'm blessed. I can move my office to a reasonable walking distance to my house, so that's great.
But still, coming here today and doing a lot of things. I mean, you've just made, and I guess with the shared transportation and Uber and Lyft and different things makes it a lot easier.
This was before Uber and Lyft when I started it.
I guess it would have been.
Yeah, but I will tell you that it's interesting how when you don't have it as an option, options show up. I'll give you an example. You'd be surprised how many of my friends loan me their cars when they go out of town. Right? You know why? They don't want to pay $20 a day parking when they go out of town for 2 weeks. So they'll call me up and go, hey, I'm going out of town. Would you mind taking me to the airport, and in exchange, you can borrow my car for 2 weeks? I'm like, that's a great deal.
Well, I know who I'm calling the next time I travel.
There you go. Yeah, and you'd be surprised how many times somebody just gives me their car for a couple of weeks and let me use it. So there are, and how often people will just offer to give you a ride as well if they know you don't have a car. Like, hey, I'm going downtown. You want to ride? I'm like, yeah, it's a great opportunity for me to bond with and network with somebody more. It's a great deal.
And so, wow, 9 years. I mean, I would think, though, with not having the car maintenance, not having to worry about that, not always having to worry about where you're going to park, a lot of the places, that creates anxiety a lot of the time.
Cars are almost 40%.
And insurance?
Yeah, they can be up between 30 to 40% of somebody's income right now.
I can see
That's
that.
crazy, because it's not just the car payment, it's insurance. It's not just insurance, it's fuel. It's not just fuel, it's maintenance. It's not just maintenance, it's parking. It's not just parking, it's parking tickets and speeding tickets and auto collision. All of these things add up, and people don't realize how expensive it is.
And I will say, most people are not driving a car just to get from point A to point B. They're driving a car so that they look better than their neighbor down the street. It's all about perception.
You do get that.
Yeah, and so.
And I probably don't look as cool riding my bike to a mayoral forum, but I don't care.
No, I think it's great.
Yeah.
But that's, so when you talk about the expenses of a car, and that plays into a lot of it, is having that car better than the neighbor, which is half of what I think society. Anyway, we get wiser as we get older, and then you learn that those are not necessarily necessary. Anyway, getting back. So again, I've had the pleasure of attending some of the forums and getting to listen to some of the discussions. Another one, and I have very much liked Buckhorn, Bob, and actually he was on our very first cover, yes, and very supportive of Edge Business Magazine in the launch. And really, when we launched Edge almost 6 years ago, there wasn't so much everything's entrepreneurial now at this point, but almost 6 years ago it wasn't. So really, to have his backing and the support was great. But anyway, and I do think he's done a great job. And I live just outside of downtown as well, and I love what he's done. Yeah. I need to get out more and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And all of the amenities now that downtown offers. But there's been a lot of, I almost say, backlash in a sense, because everyone's talked about his focus has been so on downtown that he's ignored
the neighborhoods.
He's ignored the neighborhoods. But really, downtown is for all of us. And not that I agree with ignoring neighborhoods, but he didn't necessarily fix mine up either, but we can all go downtown and enjoy that.
The good thing about a downtown is that it is an equalizer. It's the one place in a city where everyone is equal.
Right.
If it's done right.
I like that.
Yeah,
an equalizer.
It's an equalizer. It's where the wealthy can interact with the middle class, which can interact with the lower income families, and we can all share the cool same space together. But the challenge is now we have to make sure that all of those neighborhoods can get to downtown. And that's where the next phases happen. He does get a lot of criticism, but you know what? I think he did the right thing, because a strong city has a strong city center. And we've got that now. It's got the momentum. And now let's find a way to connect the neighborhoods to the downtown to where people can get there easily and effortlessly. And I've got some great plans for that. Going back to transit, by the way, I'm the only candidate who's proposing that transit should be free for people under 25, over 65, at or around poverty level, unemployed, and military.
And by transit, meaning our bus systems?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the bus systems, until we get some other solutions in there as well, whether it be light rail or commuter rail or all the other ideas that I've got for it. Yeah.
Okay, and maybe I should know this, and maybe I shouldn't even ask the question. But do bus systems go everywhere? They do not. Okay.
Yeah, they should, but they don't. We actually cut. Now, when I say we, by the way, I mean the county. Okay. The city doesn't own one single bus. I don't have any control over the buses themselves. But as the mayor, I'd be on the board of HART, so I'd have a say in that as well, and there'd be some influence. But we cut our transportation system by about 20% a couple of years ago, and that destroyed That really, it didn't affect everybody equally. Even though the cuts were equal, the impact was much stronger in the East Tampa and the West Tampa areas because they don't have as many options to get where they want to go, where other people are like, well, I guess I'll drive my car now. So we need to, and some politicians are saying we need to restore that 20%. And I'm like, well, congratulations. If you restore the 20%, you've gone from having the worst transit system in Florida all the way up to the worst transit system in Florida. It wasn't that good to begin with. We need to go way beyond just restoring the 20%. We need more routes, and we need them more frequently.
Wow. And I just kind of had a vision of somebody trying to get somewhere and taking 5 buses,
That's what happens.
in order to get
people who work at the, say for example, at Tampa International Airport, but they live up in New Tampa, they have upwards of a 2 to 2.5 hour commute every day to get to work. And then then they say, well, why don't they just live closer? They can't afford it.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you most passionate about? As far as causes go, with you running for mayor, what are you most passionate? What is most heartfelt?
Sure.
For you?
It used to be transportation, and that's still a very important thing for me because that's my obsession. Like I'm the weird guy that reads books on transit and development and urban planning. I love that. But the one that has exceedingly become stronger and stronger for me is that of social justice. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. During the break, we were talking about East and West Tampa, right? And what we can do to make those neighborhoods more effective and give them the love and the attention that they need. Here's a great example, and this is why, and I'll share with you why this became strong for me here when we get back from the break. But I guess we'll tease it with that. After the break, we'll come back and I'll share with you my strategies for how we specifically can help East Tampa and West Tampa, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. But social justice right now is my #1 thing.
Social justice. All right. Well, yeah, I look forward to hearing all about that. Where can people go right now to find out more information about your plans and everything?
They can go to topher4mayor.com.
Topher4mayor.com.
If that's too many letters, if they want to learn my transportation, they can just text the word transportation to 41411. So just dial the number 41411, text transportation, they can get that.
That's all right. All right. Well, more information coming soon. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Getting the Edge. Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's been fun talking about, well, it's always great having my great friends on the show. And really, even in some of the guests that we've had on, we've made friends from
Right.
being on the show. You know, again, it's, I've learned so much from so many people all over the Tampa Bay community. And again, providing these platforms is very important to me. It's not fair for me to just learn and kind of grow from all the wisdom that I acquire. I want to share that. So that's what Getting the Edge is all about. And I'm happy that you're joining us today. So Topher Morrison, a guest today, candidate for mayor. And again, congratulations on running. And
thank you.
I know we talked for years. Again, if you've missed any part of the show, hit rewind and make sure you check out the beginning. But so
the beginning was the place where we had the dancing monkeys in the background with lasers, and it was really cool. You should rewind because the dancing monkeys with lasers was something else. Just keep going until you see them. You'll be fine.
Yeah. This is pretty good. Great segment.
Yeah.
Okay, social justice.
Justice,
I asked right before the break. I asked you. You know, you have all these different platforms that you're speaking on, and what are you most passionate about?
And social justice is one that it was interesting because at the beginning of the race, that was my third most important thing, and now it's crept its way into my heart and up in my priority to number one. It'd be interesting. I don't think I get in 10 minutes. I don't think I can express why, but I'll do my best to give it to you in a short while. As the underdog, who doesn't have the name recognition or the money, the media just loves to ignore me. They basically just kind of pass over me. At best, I'm like maybe a little line item in an article about somebody else. And it's been frustrating for me over this past year to have really innovative ideas, creative solutions that nobody else is talking about. I mean, the Times the other day said something about there's not too much distance between the candidates. I'm like, maybe it's because you're not looking at my platform, because I'm the only one that's offered free transit. I'm the only one that's offered innovative world-class solutions for transit. You know, I mean, there's just tons of things that I've got. Nothing. And I think to myself, man, it's been frustrating not having a voice for a year. And then I sit back and I think about generations of communities, right, that haven't had a voice for hundreds of years. I think about my black and my brown brothers and sisters now, my friends in East Tampa and West Tampa, that consistently, year after year after year, they don't get the attention that they deserve. And I'm thinking, who am I to complain out of 1 year, right? So for me, it's become more and more important to me because I think for the first time I've experienced that, and it doesn't feel good. And I think we could do better for East Tampa and West Tampa. I've got solutions on how we can do that, and we can do it rapidly too. Like change the quality of their lives within the first year, easily.
And where are these, everything? Are they on the website? Can you get more information from there?
If you go to topherformayor.com, I've got everything spelled out. But I'll share with you one thing that I just discovered here this week, and this is what I love about the campaign. It's hardened my skin, it's softened my heart, but I'm also very coachable. I listen, right? And one of the things that I discovered this last week, and it infuriates me to hear this. We have a certain number of contracts that the city has to award to local businesses or even out-of-state businesses that want to come in. And we are required to have a certain number of those go through what they call the MBE, the Minority Business Plans, where certified minority business owners can get contracts. Want to take a guess as to how many of our contracts are awarded to minority-owned businesses in the city of Tampa?
Well, I can imagine since we're having this conversation, it's not very many.
It's shameful. It's 2%.
Wow.
It's actually, I think it's a little less than 2%. Now, the city's got a list of every single certified minority business-owned company that's out there. They could give these awards to the women-owned businesses, to the black-owned businesses, to the Latino-owned business. They could if they wanted to, right? But we don't. And you know why we don't? We don't because they're not the biggest campaign donors. Because those other companies put in tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars to their campaign candidates, and then when they get in office, they're bound. And so their loyalty is to those people because they sit there and go, if you don't give us those contracts, we're not going to be around during your re-election. So there's two fundamental problems here. Number one, every politician is always looking for what's the next office they want.
Right.
That's different than me. I want to get in and I want to get out. This is not a stepping stone, it's a finish line for me. And the second thing is I have no political ties to me. I have no special interest groups. I've not developed a political action committee. I got no hooks in me. So I don't have to do what the donors want. I can do what's best for the people. Like literally, as fast as this, as the mayor, small businesses that are minority owned could be getting hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in contract. Yeah, you better believe it. And I'll tell you what, that's how you impact East Tampa. That's how you impact West Tampa. You do the right thing, right? Leaders do the right thing. And we've not been doing that. We should.
Yeah, no, and you make great points, especially with the fact we talked about conditioning earlier when I asked about, why the mayoral position, why not go into something else first to get your feet wet, so to speak.
Yeah.
And
get your brain washed is what I say. But
well, and the conditioning, I really hadn't thought of it like that.
Yeah.
But again, even if you're not into politics, you can think about that from any kind of career or any craft that we might have. I mean, if you're conditioned, you become conditioned as you've been around.
This is why Google makes their employees spend 20% of their time doing passion projects and things that are unrelated to their job, because when you get people to come in from outside and do things new, they think of better solutions.
And it is everybody typically, especially we all talk about the political world and how there are some issues in there, and then yes, we do need to get involved. How you can only complain so much without doing something, and that's exactly what you're doing. Is okay, you said, okay, well, I'm going to do something about it, and you are, and I commend you for that. But the conditioning part is good, but I think not having the political plan, like you said, this is it, this is the finish line. So many people then it's the governor or it's the Senate, and then it's the Senate, and then they're looking to be in the right. It's
so they become political cowards because they can't stand up for what's right, because oftentimes what's right won't get them promoted into the next role. That's why you got to have people who go back to what originally politics was all about, which is about service. It's public service. I've done my time in the private sector. Now I want to come in and serve, and then I want to get back into the private sector. That's how politicians should be.
A lot of good points. I'm glad we had this conversation.
Thank you.
And I've heard you speak, but I guess not so directly. And you
can only get so much in a 60-second soundbite on a forum or a debate. Yeah.
Well, and just again, getting the edge too is about not just what we're in our products and services for our business, which your business is the mayoral race right now. It's an opportunity to really get to know you. And I know we don't have too much time left in the segment, but where are you from originally?
Spokane, Washington. Although I like to say I'm a Tampa native. I'm a Tampa native that just took 30 years to find my home.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, because when I got here, I visited Tampa. I've been saying for the past year 18 years, and now it's 19, and I feel weird every time I say 18 now. But I'm on my 19th year. But so 18 years ago, I visited Tampa for a 3-day vacation, and I fell in love. Not with a person, but with the city of Tampa and everything she has to offer. And it was love at first sight. And
so Tampa's a female, huh?
Apparently, yeah. And it's a love affair that has just continued to get strong and grow for me. Yeah.
In my opinion, I guess Tampa to be a male, so I get it. No, I'm teasing you.
Hey, I'm progressive. It can be an androgynous species. I'm fine with that too.
That's so funny.
I still love it.
I love that you're open to that. And that just shows, I think, where you'll kind of support and fit in with everyone. Mom and Dad, I know you're very close with your mom and dad. What, obviously, did they encourage you to, one of the questions I always ask, did they encourage you to dream as a child?
My parents have always been my #1 fan. Yeah. Always. They've supported me no matter what crazy ideas I want to do.
You're very fortunate.
When I wanted to be a rock and roll musician, they were supporting me. I'm sure inside they were like, oh, where did we go wrong? But yeah.
I think you talked about that a little bit. Topher's been a contributing writer too for Edge Business Magazine over the years, and there was one article, and you've always provided great advice on whether it was speaking or even compartmentalizing. You did one on that, and that's something as an entrepreneur and business owner we have to deal with a lot. Is how do you the only way to process everything and handle it all. And again, all these tools, I'm sure, are useful to you and where you are now. But anyway, you mentioned when you were practicing for being a rock star. Anyway, you have to check out some of the previous issues and you can find that writing. Okay, let me get into some of the things that I love asking. With everything that you've learned now, if you could go back in time, 25, 30 years, what advice would you give young Topher?
Don't sign on to Facebook. Just avoid social media completely. Yeah, that's probably. I doubt that I'd listen, but yeah.
I doubt it. And how could you even know to tell yourself? I mean, I guess.
Well, if I'm coming back 30 years from now, I'd say, trust me, there's a thing called MySpace. Stay away from it. It's the gateway drug to a thing called Facebook. Stay away from it. I just tell myself to stay off of it completely. Yeah.
Okay, really? That's the advice you give yourself?
Well, that's a
right
big one.
Today
right now, yeah. Every time they go back and they find a post that I did 10 years ago, and I'm like, come on, people, man, I've evolved since then.
How many? When I'm trying to think, I never was on MySpace, and I guess I fought it for as long as I could, and until my friends were like, if anything for business, you need to get on. Anyway, okay. Best advice you've ever been given? Did somebody tell you something once, mom and dad, boss you had early on that just stuck?
In 2 minutes or less, let me see if I can think of something. It's not advice, but it was an experience. I'll never forget this. I remember when my brother and I went to summer vacation with my grandparents to Alaska, and my mom and dad gave each of us $100 to spend on whatever we wanted, and we decided we wouldn't buy any toys. We would save our money and get back and buy an Atari 2600, which was like the state-of-the-art video game. One joystick, one button, that's all you needed. And we came back home, we told our parents we didn't buy anything, we're gonna buy an Atari 2600. My dad says, no, we can't afford the video game cartridges, and if you buy the machine, I have to buy the cartridges, it's a done deal. No. We were pissed off and angry because, I mean, that was hard-earned money that we earned by having them give it to us. So, you know, we're upset, and then like 3 days later, my dad comes home from work, and he's got this portable television, right? It's like the black and white screen this big, but a big case around it. And we were like, this is the coolest thing. And I'd kind of forgotten about the Atari thing. And I said to my brother, I go, could you imagine playing Pac-Man on that little screen? And I didn't think anything of that. Just a kid. I was like 8 years old at the time. And that affected my father. And the next day I come home from school and we have an Atari 2600. I'm like, how did we get this? And my dad sits down and he goes, son, he goes, I owe you an apology. He goes, I told you we couldn't afford the video games, and then I bought a TV that cost about 10 video games. So what I really wasn't doing was just telling you I just didn't want the video game. And he goes, and when you said that, it made me realize we made a mistake. And he goes, so I want, you know, he goes, so will you forgive me? And he apologized. I get emotional talking about it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it taught me that real men say they're sorry. Yeah. It taught me that you can apologize and still be very strong. Because my dad's like my hero, right? So I never looked at that as a point of weakness. And that put a seed in my brain many, many years ago that when you mess up, you apologize.
Well, and having been a friend of yours for years now, I know how important your parents are to you. So I can only imagine how, you know, how impactful that is. I know we're running out of time. What might people be surprised to know about you? Like, what do you enjoy doing? I know Macy.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with my dog Macy. That's but everybody knows that. I don't know. I make my own cashew butter.
Okay, well, that's
something people probably don't realize. Yeah.
Well, good luck. I look forward to following you. March 5th is the election coming up, so just less than a month now. Mayor, where do we find you? More information.
TopherForMayor.com.
Topher, and is that F-O-R?
Of course, yes. Always the word, never the number. Always the word.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. TopherForMayor.com. Again, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for joining us, and make sure you check us out next week on Getting the Edge. And in the meantime, check out EdgeBusinessMagazine.com. Make sure you subscribe to the magazine today. Have a great one. We'll see you soon.